to the state for leadership on these. So I think it's really important that we're strong. I think it's really important that we honor the promises of the voters who sent us into our offices. There's not a single Republican that ran for office saying they were going to be weak on this issue. Because if they did, they would have lost. You all know that. So now's the time to do it. And here's the problem I have with what they've done. I put out a series of proposals. Look, and I say it again, if you can do better than what I did, do it. I don't need any pride of authorship. I don't need any fanfare. I just want to get the job done. But what we propose, there's a number of things. One, we have to end catch and release with illegal aliens that get arrested. So what happens is, maybe someone is driving while intoxicated, they get arrested, they get booked, and the judge just releases them. We want to create a presumption that you don't get bail if you're here illegally, so we have time to then contact immigration authorities and we can begin the process of getting you the hell out of our country. Very important to end catch and release. The legislature's bill doesn't end catch and release, doesn't do anything to deal with that. So we've seen this time and time again. You get a DUI, you're here illegally, you go in front of a judge, they send you home on bail. You shouldn't be on bail in those situations or other situations, which sometimes are even much more serious. So we need to end catch and release. The legislature's bill that they passed does not do that. I want to stop catch and release, and I want to move to detain and deport. That is the policy that's going to work for the people of Florida. The other thing that you have is so the one thing that they're saying is, and if you watch the debate that the legislature had, because the liberals were like, well, are you going to be deporting people? And then basically the proponents of it were like, oh, no, we're not going to do that. Just if someone's in the jail, then we'll refer them to ICE. Well, obviously, that's like the lowest hanging fruit. Now, it is true we have some jails that aren't participating in some of the federal programs, but I think that's easily resolved. They come to us for funding. I think we can do that. I'm totally fine with that being in here. We would do the same thing. But it's interesting. In our proposal, what we say is if an illegal alien is in jail, one of our jails, and there's an immigration detainer, ICE obviously can come get them, and you're going to cooperate. But sometimes ICE doesn't do it. Maybe they're just shorthanded, whatever. We're authorizing the locals or the state to transfer the alien to ICE. The legislature's bill doesn't do that. They just get released if ICE isn't there when the time comes. And look, sometimes ICE in the past, because they're getting directive from on high to not do it, but now they want to do it, right? But they have limited resources, so it may not be where they are always going to be there. Well, I think you take the alien and you bring them there so that they're not released back into our communities. Legislature didn't do that. They didn't authorize the transport to be able to happen. The other thing is this. I said it was a half step forward, 5 steps back. Here's the reason why. We're doing operations now, and it's been much better, obviously, under the Trump administration. I mentioned the Chinese illegals. We did the bust yesterday in Tallahassee with Highway Patrol. I've got Highway Patrol, FDLE. I've got all these agencies that are working together to be able to bring the rule of law back and hold these folks accountable. This bill eliminates all the current operations that we are doing against illegal immigration. It eliminates what FHP is doing. It eliminates FDLE. I have boats by the Keys and by the east coast of Florida, southeast coast, to interdict vessels. Biden had some Coast Guard. Trump has surged more. But you'll have like 30 Haitians coming on a boat, and if you stop them before they get to the shore, they just get turned around by Coast Guard and go back. So we've done that. So all those things would be revoked, and we wouldn't be in the game on any of that stuff. So that's taking steps backwards. And then the worst part about it is they actually strip the governor of immigration enforcement authority entirely, and they transfer it to the Department of Agriculture. Now, why the hell would you do that? People ask, why would you do it? And part of it is, look, agriculture has been a magnet industry for illegal alien labor. It's cheap labor. They do all that stuff. That doesn't mean every farm in Florida is doing it, both family farms, big farms. And I'm not suggesting that everyone is, but we know it does happen. Let's just be honest. And so there is a conflict there as the ag commissioner, because you're going to have constituencies that are not necessarily going to want to have immigration enforcement. So it's a dumb idea just for that purpose. But it's also the case of they don't have the resources. So you're literally putting in this bill that none of our agencies can even discuss immigration with these federal authorities unless the Ag Commissioner approves that. How is that? What possible justification for that is? And people ask me, and they're like, well, and look, Florida does a good job in crisis management and emergency response. You guys have seen that over the years. We're proud of it. That emanates from my office and these others, all these agencies. We are a well-oiled machine. So if you really wanted to be successful, you would just, beef up authorities for us to keep doing our jobs, right? They're taking that away. Some of it may be petty politics they're trying to play just because they want to pull one over on me. But I think it's more than that. The reason you put it in ag, the reason you bar state agencies from communicating with ICE and Border Patrol is because you don't want to see more deportations. It's because you don't want to see more interior enforcement. That's why they're doing it. It's a feature for them, not a bug that it's not going to work. And that gives the game away. If you were serious about interior enforcement, you were serious about increasing the number of illegal aliens that get deported out of the state of Florida to help the Trump administration set this record that the president's pledged to, the last thing you would do is send it to the Ag Commissioner and tie the hands of the very state agencies that have worked successfully on this issue for the last many years. So that gives the game away, and it basically means if we in the state, if we had evidence of illegal labor or gangs, we'd have to go to the Ag Commissioner, and if the Ag Commissioner can veto us following through on it. So it is really bad and effectively makes us a de facto sanctuary state because all of the enforcement is going to be contingent on this one Ag Commissioner and whether or not he is going to green light any of these operations. So it makes no sense whatsoever if you actually want to do a good job. It makes perfect sense if your goal is to sabotage enforcement. So you would have, because of that provision, you would have fewer people deported under their bill than you would if we just kept doing things the way we're doing now with the beefed up state involvement. And we're going to announce an MOU where we're going to do even more down here in Southwest Florida. So that is a head scratcher. Nobody can justify who voted for this bill why you would want to take it away from the governor and give it to the Ag Commissioner. And look, we had a Democrat Ag Commissioner a couple years ago. Current Ag Commissioner has voted for in-state tuition for illegal aliens, driver's licenses for illegal aliens. Me as governor, I've been strong on illegal immigration. You don't got to worry about me. I'm not going to squish on this issue. I'm going to be there. I'm going to get the job done. So just from a practical perspective, it makes no sense. From an organizational perspective, it makes no sense. So that's really, really problematic. Now, another thing they do, President Trump came in, he issued a national emergency for immigration and at the border. We have a state of emergency similar in the state of Florida for illegal immigration. A lot of the things we're doing with Highway Patrol, FDLE, Fish and Wildlife, the maritime operations, flows from that state of emergency. The legislature's bill, which they're trying to, they think you're dumb by calling it the Trump Act. They think you're going to think it's strong. It actually eliminates our state of emergency. So all those operations would cease as a result of that. These operations are working. These operations are doing well. So again, that gives the game away. It'd be one thing if you didn't like the state of emergency, but Trump just did one. And that's unlocking his potential at the federal level. So they do that. Gangs, transnational gangs. We propose very strong ability to hold these gangs accountable. Legislature initially had nothing in there at all about gangs. They have put some in there, not as strong as us, but they have put some stuff in after the outcry, but you got to go after the gangs. Now, you go after the problem at the source with the cartels, and the Trump administration's doing that. They have president's designated the cartels to be foreign terrorist organizations. I think that's 100% appropriate, and I think they should be treated that way. And so that will make a difference. They're also doing the border fortification. So repelling people who are trying to come, the border crossings are down dramatically just since January 20th. building the wall, all that is very, very important. But here's the thing. You can do all of those things perfectly right. It doesn't 100% solve the problem because you still have the enticements to come here illegally. And what's the main enticement is illegal employment. People can come from these foreign countries, they can make more money here in the United States than they do back home, and then a lot of times they'll send remittances back to their home country. Now, we do have E-Verify for 25 employees or more. That's been helpful. The media said that our economy was going to crash, and it hasn't, but it has been helpful at combating illegal hiring. Under 25, the legislature didn't police, and obviously, I would say if there is the fraud, that's going to probably be there. In my proposals, we want to strengthen E-Verify to remove the enticement to come illegally. The legislature actually strips E-Verify enforcement from the governor. They weaken it, and they give it to the Commissioner of Agriculture. So if you have illegal labor, you're going to have to go through Ag Commissioner to do it. That should not be the case. And current Ag Commissioner Wilton Simpson, he's opposed E-Verify when he was in the legislature. That's just a fact. And many of these other guys running this bill have opposed E-Verify very significantly, largely because of the businesses. So it weakens E-Verify, and I think it pretty much eliminates, it de facto eliminates E-Verify because they're taking it out of the governor's executive offices and putting it in to the Ag Commissioner. But the employment is an enticement. The ability to send remittances is also an enticement. So we're proposing having an E-Verify for remittances. So you want to send a remittance? Okay, you've got to show the wire provider that you have that you're here lawfully. And if you do that, send away. If you don't, we're not going to let you send remittances. That would dry up so much of the enticement almost immediately. You would see really positive differences from that. They didn't include anything about remittances, and I think the reason is they don't want to remove the enticements. That's not something that they're trying to do. I think they want to continue to entice people to come here and work under the table. I think that's a mistake. I think that causes, here's the thing, some business that wants cheap labor, there's cost imposed on all of us from that. Schools, hospitals, traffic accidents, maybe criminal activity, all these different things. So it's basically a massive subsidy to some of these businesses when you're bringing in people illegally like that. So remove the enticements. We need to do it. The legislature totally dropped the ball on that. Making sure we're holding illegal aliens accountable who try to vote in the state of Florida. We have prosecuted. I did election integrity with the legislature. We created an Office of Election Crimes in the Attorney General's office or in the State Department. We've prosecuted people that have voted illegally in Florida, and we're proud that we've been aggressive on that. The media hates it. They're like, oh, you can't do that. No, you can. You don't have a right to vote if you're not a U.S. citizen in this state and this country, and that's the way it should be. But the problem is if you're here illegally and you vote, and then I find that out, your vote has been counted. There's no way 3 months after the election I can unring the bell. I don't know who you voted for. So the crime that was committed still influences the election. They have not made it a separate crime in Florida to illegally register to vote. You're not allowed to register if you're, quote, unqualified, but when you sign up, you don't have to swear under penalty of perjury that you're a U.S. citizen. We want to make sure everyone has to swear that they're a U.S. citizen, and then if they swear and they register, and it's not even just illegals. If you're a legal foreigner here, you're not eligible to vote. If you're a foreigner, then we can hold you accountable before the election. We can hold you accountable for falsely registering. And so those penalties we have are strong. The legislature did not see fit to do the strong penalties for illegally registering to vote, and they had an opportunity to do that. But I think that that's something that's really, really important. Now, probably the linchpin of this, if it's going to be successful, and if the president's mandate is going to be fulfilled, is you have to require state and local law enforcement to cooperate affirmatively with federal immigration authorities. Not just not be a sanctuary. I mean, we know California is a sanctuary state. They're going to try to sabotage everything the Trump administration does. Chicago, sanctuary city. They're going to try to sabotage. We're not a sanctuary state. Well, at least, you know, as long as this bill doesn't ever pass, we won't be. If it passes, we're a de facto sanctuary state. But we're not. We don't have sanctuary cities, or they're not allowed. But there's a difference between, okay, you can't actively sabotage, but can you just sit on your hands and do nothing? That's what most law enforcement agencies throughout the country do. They don't do very much. The legislature said, well, if you're in a jail, then we'll get involved and help out. Yeah, that's like the bare minimum. So we're imposing an obligation on these police departments, sheriff's departments, to participate in these enforcement efforts. So for example, Highway Patrol, I've already ordered this, so we don't need the legislation, but we're gonna include it in there. They pull somebody over for drunk driving, they're here illegally, they have a duty to pursue the immigration infraction too, and to alert ICE, and to do whatever needs to be done to be able to hold accountable. When you do that, you are gonna prevent. I mean, if an illegal's driving drunk and gets pulled over and doesn't hit anybody, the chance that they will never drive drunk again is not high. That's not unique to illegals, right? It's like when people get in that type of behavior, sometimes it's only a matter of time before they ever end up killing someone. So if you get it at the start and remove, man, you're great. So we are gonna have that. We're also, like if a local police officer is responding to like an apartment complex, domestic violence, but then he sees in one of the other apartment buildings, gang members, illegal gang members, he's got to say, you know what, they're here illegally. You don't have to wait for them to commit a serious felony. I want to get them out of here before they're committing the felonies. I don't want to have victims in the state of Florida. And so you got to do that. So by doing that, you get all of them in the game. They're going to have to maximally participate in all the federal opportunities to be able to make an impact on this very serious issue of illegal immigration. If you don't have that, you're not going to get the numbers where they need to be. You're not going to really turn the tide dramatically. You will have improvement for sure compared to Biden, no question. But if you want to do something historic, you got to get the state and locals involved in this. And so that's what we're doing. That's what we want to do. The legislature is not doing that. They are not imposing that obligation. They say in the jails, that's the only thing. Other than that, basically, there's going to be no interior enforcement of illegal immigration by any state or local officials. That's not getting the job done, folks, if we give that free rein for illegals to do this. So that's really important. And then you got to have enforcement mechanisms. So, you know, like a sheriff, if they have a duty imposed on them by law, they're elected countywide. And most of our sheriffs want to be involved in this. We've got some that may not be, but if the duty's imposed on them, they got to do it. And then if they don't, governor has removal, suspension authority, can do whatever. We also need that enforcement authority on the municipal officials, like police chiefs, to ensure that they're living up to the duties that the law is imposing on them. And if you do that, you are going to see really positive. Now, the legislature has nothing in there on any of that. It's just not something that they wanted to do. So their bill takes us back. It neuters our ability to protect you from illegal immigration. It neuters our state agencies. It is a de facto sanctuary/amnesty bill. And that's totally contrary to what all these guys ran on in 22 when I was on the ticket, in 24 during the President Trump election. This issue of going after the cartels, securing the border, and having this the largest deportation effort in all of American history, those were central to this mandate. All these guys were supportive of that. They all told you as voters that they would stand for policies that deliver that. None of them said they would vote to make Florida a de facto sanctuary state. Did any of them tell you that they wanted to take power away from the governor on illegal immigration and give it to the ag commissioner when they were campaigning? No, not one of them said that. It's absurd. The mere thought of them campaigning on that would be absurd. You'd scratch your heads and say, what the hell is wrong with you? So no. So now's the time to get it right. What they have done this week has been so weak, so pathetic. And here's the thing. I could easily just say, you know what, let the feds handle it. You know, we'll do our own thing. We don't need to worry about it. But that's not the right thing to do. And the right thing to do is not always the easiest thing to do. Sometimes you got to tussle, you know, with the legislature. Sometimes you got to go out and make the case. But it's the right thing to do. And I think this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity. If we're not going to go in full bore to get the job done, I don't know that we'll ever have a better opportunity to really make a difference ever again. So I want to thank, since we're in Southwest Florida, I want to thank Senator Jonathan Martin. You know, he opposed the Swamp Act last night, this amnesty bill, this weak bill. He saw through it. He stood strong. You know, the leaders in the chambers, they pressure these guys. Oh, we're going to take away your committee assignments. We're going to deep six your projects. You're going to do so. They retaliate, and that's why so many of these members get concerned. You know, the members showed up to Tallahassee on Monday. They didn't know what the hell was going to happen. They weren't given any of the leadership didn't give them the bill. They had and the leadership did not allow any bills to be filed until Sunday night. So all of our stuff, the members filed Sunday night, nothing money, and then they get this dumped on them and basically told, hey, we're naming it after Trump, so don't worry about it. Obama named Obamacare the Affordable Care Act. How affordable was that? Biden named his spending boondoggle the Inflation Reduction Act. How much did it reduce inflation? And so they're playing this political game where if they name a weak bill after a strong president, that somehow you guys are just going to say, oh, yeah, you know, it must be amazing. I think some of you may have been born on a Tuesday, but it wasn't last Tuesday. You know what these guys are up to, and you know. So contact your local representatives. Let them know we've got to get this right. We can't have weak sauce. We got to be strong. We can't descend Florida into a de facto sanctuary by neutering the ability of the state agencies to respond and to be strong on this. And we do need our local agencies to all be a part of the fight. So we're going to keep pushing. Obviously, this is something that's really, really significant. I want to bring in some of the other folks that are going to say some things about some of the opportunities. We are actually going to sign a memorandum of understanding between DHS and here Highway Patrol here in Southwest Florida, where Highway Patrol. So you know the Trump administration wants to, and there's different provisions of law that allows them to do this, you know, to empower state and local officials with the authority to exercise immigration power. That's huge because it's a force multiplier. So we're going to have that memorandum of understanding where our state officials here down in Southwest Florida with Highway Patrol are going to be vested in the authorities of an immigration officer. That's going to make it so much more effective to fight illegal immigration. So Dave Kerner, Department of Highway Safety Motor Vehicles, and Florida Highway Patrol.
Thank you, Governor. It's an honor to be here with you today. It's an honor to be here on this dais with our partners in federal law enforcement. First of all, I would say is that I think 9 out of 10 governors would probably have signed this bill and moved on and counted it as a win and said, you know, it's a Trump act and let's go forth. Not with Governor DeSantis. He is relentless. He is the most law and order person that I've ever met. It's an honor to work for you, Governor. He has always had your best interest and your public safety at the front of his mind in everything he has done, and that's what today is about, and that's what it's going to be about moving forward. You know, we talk about partnerships in law enforcement. I was blessed to get into law enforcement when I was 19 years old. It was a different world then. I'm also joined here today because the governor has been kind enough to appoint me and delegate the authority to me to serve as the head of the Florida Highway Patrol in the department. We're joined here today by several state troopers, and it's an honor to be here with you folks. And I'll take a very quick survey and ask if each trooper will raise their hand if you've been deployed to the southwest border in Texas. Please raise your hand. Raise your hand if you've been deployed twice. And we have some here that have been twice. Raise your hand. So these troopers, for the last 3 years, these troopers have been, at the direction of Governor DeSantis, engaged in the battle against the open border. And I thank you for your service, but it's time now that we turn our focus, as the governor has directed, to the interior of our state. And quite frankly, I think we're all very excited about this opportunity because state troopers, more often than the average human being, an average American, get to see the effects of illegal immigration in our community. They interact with it every day. And so what state troopers will tell you, and anyone in uniform will tell you, is that our partnerships with law enforcement, with the federal government, that is the lifeblood of being effective in law enforcement. This mission cannot be accomplished without the partnership of our federal partners at HSI and ERO. These folks are professionals, they know exactly what they're doing, and we want to multiply their force. And so I was excited when I heard about the special session because we're ready to get rocking and rolling. But the other thing is I'm not a policymaker. I'm an appointed official. We live on a thin branch, but we're not elected to make laws. So I'm not going to talk about what's not in this bill. The governor has covered that already. But I will talk to you, and I do think it's appropriate that I speak to you directly about what is in this bill that has passed the House and the Senate. We have a historic opportunity today to sign our first MOU with the federal government, with HSI and ERO, which stands for Enforcement and Removal Operations. These are the professionals in this space. Under this bill, if it were to be signed, this MOU would be unlawful. This MOU would disappear instantaneously. So let me read from line 1078 of the bill that has passed the House and Senate. And I'm assuming that my federal partners here have not heard of this. I'm sure you've had other duties instead of following our special session. Any communication, not some communication, not sensitive communication, but any communication with or coordination between a state law enforcement agency, like the Highway Patrol, and federal immigration agency concerning such laws must occur through the Office of the Agriculture Commissioner. Any interagency agreement, memorandum of understanding, or contract concerning federal immigration laws or matters directly related to the federal immigration and a state law enforcement agency, i.e. this MOU, must be approved by the Chief Immigration Officer of the Department of Agriculture.
Fox guarding the hen house. That's all that is. Fox guarding the hen house. It's absurd.
And it's unheard of. And these agents will tell you, I'm not going to speak for them, but again, the lifeblood of our effectiveness is our ability to work together as agencies without an intermediary.
And it's interesting, I talked to Tom Homan the other day. He's great, he's doing a great job. And I said, listen, we want to be helpful. He's like, oh, we need you, state and local, that's 90% of it. And so he was really excited. And, I told him, I said, yeah, we're working through, legislature has some ideas. Yeah, they just dropped the bills. Like, I think it's going to be problematic. They want to take power away from the governor with all our agencies and then have the ag commissioner. And he just laughed. He's like, agriculture commissioner? Like, what the, no, I mean, no. I mean, like, has this ever been done anywhere in the rest of the country? Of course not. Of course not. And so this is not a disagreement on timing, which they initially said when I called the special session. They said it's not urgent. We'll deal with it in due time. It's not a disagreement that, we all have the same values. We just are coming at it from a different way. No, this is a disagreement on values. Because if you value strong interior enforcement, if you value the ability for our state to help effectuate the swift removal of people who are here illegally, then you are going to gravitate to the proposals that I have put out. If your values are you don't want to see people who are here illegally deported unless they commit like some serious crime, then you're going to want the agriculture commissioner to throw sand in the gears, right? And you're going to do it. So the bill that they did, it was so offensive that they named it the Trump Act because the values that they're trying to further in that bill are totally contrary to what he campaigned on. They're trying to neuter this so that we actually have fewer deportations than we're having right now. And then what they'll say is, oh, well, we're putting all this money in for more housing and beds and stuff. And like I said, I don't want to house and feed. I want to remove. But it is a difference in values. And I think these provisions with this ag commissioner, to me, just totally gives away the game. And any of your reps that voted for it, you should ask them, why would you have taken it away from the governor and given it to the ag commissioner and then neutered all the state agencies from participating with the veto given to the ag commissioner? What would they tell you? They cannot tell you anything. And I would also say, just knowing who's governor now, I mean, did you want the ag commissioner responding to Hurricane Ian, or did you want me responding to Hurricane Ian? I mean, let's just be clear here. We've shown an ability to manage these crisis and disaster situations, so it's even doubly absurd that you would try to do that. So I think that the fact that we wouldn't even be able to do this agreement here, we wouldn't even be able to have communication with these agencies. And just think, I mean, like, you know, what do you think if Kerner, if Dave Kerner's Highway Patrol guys, you know, someone's going and speeding and they follow him and they end up on some place where you got, you know, you stumble upon 25 illegal laborers, you got to go to the Commissioner of Agriculture to ask him if you can pursue that. What do you think his answer is going to be? You think he's going to be eager to pursue people that are just illegal laborers in like some farm or something? I would say probably not. I'd bet the under on that, because that's basically been the pattern. So it makes no sense whatsoever, and it totally gives away the store about how weak, ineffectual, and subversive, quite frankly, this bill is. Because we would be better off just saying, you know what, let the state keep doing what it's doing the way it's doing. We would have more people that end up getting deported under our current model than under this bill. And, you know, they put some stuff in because they recognize the voter response has been so negative. They recognize it was soft. There's no interior enforcement. They understood that. So they were like, their way to make it tougher was to enhance criminal penalties on illegals who've committed crimes. So, like, for example, I enacted with the legislature a couple years ago the death penalty for pedophiles. Supreme Court ruled 5-4 a decade ago, 2 decades ago, that was unconstitutional. I think that's a mistake. So we're trying to challenge that decision, right? So that's already there. And they're saying, oh, if an illegal alien rapes a child, they get the death penalty. Well, we already have that in law, whether you're illegal or not, right? And so we already have stiff penalties. But fine, like, you want to load up more, but that doesn't stop. That doesn't answer the question of deporting people who are here illegally. It's a totally separate thing than being tough on interior enforcement. And for that, you've got to have your guys in the game. Sorry, Dave.
And Governor, unfortunately, it gets worse because it's one thing to control the relationship between the federal government and the state of Florida law enforcement, but it goes a step further. In Section 3, line 1087, it says if a local law enforcement agency, and we're joined here today by our colleagues and friends in local law enforcement, and the federal government's going to look to them as well, but if a local law enforcement agency requests the assistance regarding a federal immigration law from a state law enforcement agency, right? So we're out there on the roads. These guys are out there on the roads with local police. If they encounter an illegal immigrant and the local PD wants the help of the Florida Highway Patrol, which would happen 1,000 times out of 1,000 in the normal world, under this law, if the local agency requests state law enforcement agency to assist, that local agency and law enforcement agency must coordinate the request through the Office of the Agriculture Commissioner.
So think about it. You could have, I mean, part of what we want to do is ensure that these counties and the police departments and the cities, that they participate and that they take advantage of the opportunities to do it. But you will have some, maybe a gung-ho sheriff who really wants to go above and beyond, and so they really want to get after this issue. They've got to get approval. The ag commissioner can veto a duly elected sheriff's ability to be really, really tough on illegal immigration. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to reel these guys in? I mean, we're trying to impose a duty to set a bare minimum that you got to be in the fight, right? But people can go above that. Yeah, definitely do it, 100%. This would basically neuter some of our local officials who are very gung-ho about this issue. You know, you'll have people, I know these guys, so it runs the gamut. I mean, there's a handful of elected sheriffs who would want to be sanctuary if they could. They know that we're not a sanctuary, but they are not going to want to offer very much positive assistance, right? They'll do the bare minimum so that they follow current law. And we obviously need them to do more. Most of the other sheriffs, I think, are kind of in between. They just don't view it as their mission. They're happy to be helpful on the margins, but they don't want necessarily to have some of their folks trained to exercise some of the immigration authority, which I think they need to have some of their folks do. But you do have some who would really want to take the bull by the horns, and they want to say, you know what? I'm going to make this county, we're not going to have illegal immigration in our county. And you have some gung-ho sheriffs who would do that. That could be vetoed under this bill by the ag commissioner. It's a mother may I enforce the laws against illegal immigration. And you know, the ag commissioner, it's a fourth on the ballot, and you know, in the cabinet, like it's a down ballot race. This isn't like a a race that, how many people here know who our ad commissioner is? Raise your hand if you know who it is. All right, so a majority of you do not, and don't get me wrong, that's not a majority of Floridians, I bet you 100% do not know that. And so the question is this is pretty significant authority to be vesting in an official who is not exactly a household name, and a lot of people voted for, quite frankly, in 22, because I was on the top of the ticket and they voted Republican down ballot. That's just the reality of the situation. So let's just be honest. So it's mind-boggling that you would want to do that. And again, I understand there's some of this is like some tit for tat. They're playing these inside baseball games. They're trying to make it like a power thing, like we want to remove the governor's too powerful, this other stuff, which I think is dumb. That's not what this debate's about. The debate's about you and whether we're getting the job done for you. But some of this, I think is really, really intentional sabotage of what we're trying to accomplish. And you deserve better than that.
And to that point, Governor, the last thing that I would say is that when I read the bill in its initial draft, I found these provisions. It was a large bill. We had a couple hours to really digest it. And when I found these provisions in particular, I didn't sit on it. I put my suit and tie on. I went down to the committee room. I went to the Capitol, and I testified to the House of Representatives. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe they didn't draft it well, but I wanted to put it on notice so that it could be fixed. So I went down there on Monday, and I testified. I said, this is going to paralyze us. This is going to paralyze all of our operations. Please fix this. I was assured by members that it was an easy fix, and the final bill was filed last night and voted on, and it hasn't changed one word. And so I would leave you with that, and the final comment is to my colleagues in federal law enforcement. We look forward to really making an impact on illegal immigration in the state of Florida. We honor our partnership with you. We will be honored to sign this today, and we look forward to working with you and making a difference in the state of Florida. Thank you, Governor.
Great, okay. All right, John Condon, Special Agent in charge, U.S. Immigration Custom Enforcement, HSI.
Thank you very much, Governor. It's an honor to be here. I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to sit here today. So just wanted to, for us, really emphasize that HSI has really escalated its operational priorities in response to the President's executive orders. We are, as a national emergency, we're treating this as a 7-day-a-week issue. We're out there. We have an office right here in Southwest Florida. We work very, very well with the state of Florida. The governor has a great team here. I can't thank him and the team here enough. Between FHP and FDLE, just tremendous. We got additional FDLE resources today in all of our offices in my AOR. It's an amazing partnership. In addition, we work, as I said, as a whole government approach. The DOJ, all the DOJ entities are here helping us as well. And also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, of course, our close partners here with ERO, who also are in the fight with us. So it's just a great opportunity, and we're attacking this every day of the week as best as we can.
Great. Okay, Alvin Vincent, ERO.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you for having us. I'll just reiterate what our mission in EROs is: to protect the homeland from national security and public safety threats. We do that by arresting illegal criminal aliens. We do that in our partnerships with the state and local governments, probation and parole, other federal agencies. As well as HSI, we've upticked our approach to immigration enforcement, and we're doing what we need to protect the public.
Great. Okay. And Dave, I know you guys have been dealing with ICE and some of these guys and some of these other operations in Tallahassee, whatever. When news of this bill came down, we got some negative feedback from the rank and file about what the legislature was doing. Correct?
Absolutely. I mean, here you have men and women in law enforcement risking their lives to get this operation done and to get these folks in custody. And you have, whether it's intentional or not, I don't know, but efforts to undermine our ability to put bad people in jail and get them out of this country. So absolutely, Governor. Yes, sir.
Okay. And, we have Nikki Jones, and she's been a friend of mine for now, a couple years, I think. She has helped us as we've sought to do more to combat illegal immigration in the state of Florida. And part of the reason she's become active in this is because, she's a victim of illegal immigration. Illegal alien killed her husband. And so she's been telling that story. She now has a foundation, and she's supportive of our efforts to finally get this issue right?
Hi. So, we really need to strengthen our bills right now that are going on, because if we relax on them, we're just gonna have more and more victims throughout this state. I can tell you my personal experience of what's going on, but, you know, that probably most leaders probably don't even know what's going on at the citizen ground level. So my husband, when he was killed by an illegal alien drinking and driving, obviously without a license. And come to find out, after a bunch of research, he had multiple DUIs throughout the years, and ICE was never called on them. And he had, he was even let out on our soil to even attend DUI school on one of them. So even the night he killed my husband, he still was not placed on ICE hold. I live in a county that immigration laws are not enforced, unfortunately. And he was on a small bond, and then he was on a small bond until I intervened the next morning when I found out about that he was illegally here. Then it was 2 years of court cases and plea deals. And I don't think any citizen should have to go through that. That's way too much, considering he never should have been on the soil in the first place. Many Americans and legal families are victimized every day. Every 1.5 seconds, an American is victimized by an illegal alien crime in the nation. According to the House Committee on Homeland Security in 2024, traffic offenses are at the top. Then it's weapon offenses, sexual offenses, and then kidnappings. And these are just reported numbers. Imagine the non-reported numbers, because they're not documented and they're illegally here. Over the years, our governor has worked so hard to protect our citizens from the Biden administration, to secure the border and our state. Now is not the time to stop. There are 20 counties, including mine, that do not enforce immigration laws and remain to keep the revolving door open. Women in our state deserve to feel safe. We deserve to have our children feel safe. Traffic crashes are the highest on the list of these crimes, or traffic violations. And many children, moms and dads, are losing their kids to these offenses. I'm in support of DeSantis for calling this special session and staying strong, because sheriffs need to get on board to protect our citizens. We did not vote to have someone make a decision to allow this. I never saw on a ballot that I voted that I want illegal aliens here, okay? My husband served this country for his lifetime. He was a 20-year veteran and recently retired. He retired a year prior, and I had a 6-month-old and 2-year-old at the time. And that's how I ended up starting the Voices Foundation, because there are no resources for these victims to be able to rebuild their lives and somewhat go back to normalcy. I do not understand why I'm sitting here today asking state leadership to comply and uphold the law and pass bills to protect our families and children as a voting citizen. They're not the ones coming home to their spouse or their child's ashes. We are. And there's many stories like mine. This crime was 100% preventable, and it's time for everybody to get on board, and it's time for the people to start speaking that you want to support the governor in these bills to enforce laws for illegal immigration crimes.
Thank you. All right, so we've got to meet the moment when, you pound your chest during the campaigns and you tell the voters that you're going to, get after Biden's open border, you're going to stand for them, you're going to fight illegal immigration, and then you get elected and you have a historic opportunity for our state to lead and to actually make a huge difference in helping the president fulfill his mandate to have the largest deportation operation in American history. You got to seize the mantle. You got to seize that moment. Don't squander it. Don't play political games. Don't try to, craft this weak bill and think if you put Trump's name on it, that's going to pull the wool over people's eyes. People are much, much too smart for that. They know how these politicians operate. And the fact of the matter is, the legislative leaders who crafted the bill that they've done that has all these problems, they did not see the urgency of this even 2 weeks ago. I made the call for special session. They said it was premature to do immigration. They said that it could wait. They said it was a stunt to do a special session to try to capture this momentum, respond to the president's executive orders, and make sure that Florida state and local law enforcement were in the fight against illegal immigration. And so they got dragged to this kicking and screaming. Now they've produced a stinker of a bill. The public is on to them. They're upset about what's happened, and they're trying to obfuscate, and they're trying to tell you that somehow this is going to solve the problems. It's not going to solve the problems. It's going to create a lot of new problems. It's probably going to spend a lot of your money in ways that are probably not going to end up being effective. And even the things we've done, the last couple days, the Chinese alien bust, the FHP in Tallahassee with the illegals, those operations under this bill must cease. Are you kidding me? So I want folks to live up to what they told voters they would do. Don't try to play games about you don't want the governor to get the win, or you don't want it's a power struggle. No. Has nothing to do with that. Has nothing to do about these dumb Tallahassee games. Has to do with you. Has to do with the people of this state, the security of this state, and whether we're living up to our obligations to do everything we can to be in this fight. Weak responses are not going to be adequate to the task at hand. And Florida has a unique obligation, because if we are weak on this, that gives license to every other state to just fall on their face and not even try to do anything. If we're strong and we have proposals similar to mine, heck, do better proposals. I am totally fine if you're stronger, but I'm not going to accept weak proposals that aren't going to make a difference. So if we are strong, man, we're setting the standard nationally. That's going to have a huge positive impact on the success of these operations. So I was right to call them in. They were wrong to oppose it. I was right to say this was urgent. They were wrong to say it could wait. I was right to treat this as the important issue that it is. They were wrong to say it was a stunt. Our proposals were correct because it will increase enforcement in Florida, lead to more deportations, and increase the safety and quality of life of our citizens. Their proposals are weak because they're stripping us of power that we're exercising now. They don't require the state and locals to get in the game the way we need them to do, and they don't even end things like catch and release. So you guys have an opportunity. Talk to your representatives. Tell them you want something strong. We can get it done. Ultimately, if you're listening to the people and you're doing what the people expect you to do, things work out. That's just the way it is. What I think people are sick of is the treachery. When they tell you they're going to stand for you against illegal immigration, they have an opportunity, and they do something like this weak sauce, this stuff that undermines even what we're doing now. Forget about making it better. It's undercutting our efforts here, and it's motivated by, I think, a disinterest in actually solving the problem. So let's do it. We can do it, and we're going to make sure we get this right. Okay, we have any questions back there? Yes, ma'am.
Governor, hi. Are you going to veto this and call the legislature back to a special session? If so, how can you ensure they're listening? And have you talked with President Donald Trump about this at all?
So I have said I am vetoing their legislation. It's not gonna get my signature. How could I possibly sign something that is contrary to everything I've campaigned on, that's contrary to what President Trump campaigned on, that makes us a de facto sanctuary state, that neuters the operations we're doing already, that doesn't answer the call? Of course, we're going to veto it. And, I've spoken to the president a number of times throughout the weeks, including the other day, and he just said, you just got to be strong. It's like, you can't be weak, just be strong. And I think my position's been much stronger than the legislature. I think the fact that they did a weak bill and put his name on it, I think was an insult to him, because he's been strong on these issues. Has Donald Trump ever said, we want the ag commissioner in charge? No, of course not. He would never say that. So we got to be strong, and I want to have a strong set of policies that are going to make us the leader in the United States. Their policies don't get the job done, and it does weaken what we're currently doing in these really important aspects, and it's just a total deal breaker.
So will you call another special session?
We're going to get this done. I'm not just going to sit around and just wait, but I also want to, because I can call, like I could say, you're coming back to, I could have, you think, but I also think that sometimes when these guys are in Tallahassee, they're in some bubble, right? The leadership is telling them, oh, this is great, it's great, it's great. And they're kind of like, okay, I want the members to go back to their communities, and I want you guys to talk to your representatives and tell them what you think. And honestly, if you tell them this is such a great bill, and we don't want the power to, we want the ag commissioner to run things, and we don't want to end catch and release, and we don't want to impose a duty on locals and state to assist. If that's what you believe, then tell them job well done. I don't think there's very many people, though, who believe that. And so you have an opportunity to let them know kind of what you think and what you want to see. And what I've found is when the people are animated on an issue and they let their representatives know this is something that matters to them, these representatives will listen. They will. And the reason is they'll listen is because there's only so many issues that really are top-tier issues, right? And with Republicans especially, this issue is number one. Number one. I think I saw it was 2-1 over the economy even amongst Republican voters in Florida. I don't think we've ever seen that before. Now, part of it, I think, is because, they have confidence with Florida and now with Trump in on the economy, that the economy will get better on some of these things. We've obviously had strong growth, but we've had Bidenflation and all the other issues. So this is the top issue. So it's not like just some random vote on some random obscure thing. This is a vote that will reverberate in these representatives' entire careers, that they're doing things. And I look back over the last 6 years for Republicans. This is the worst vote I've ever seen Republicans take. This is the worst one. This one will sting. This one will, as people know more about what was in this thing, this is going to sting. This is going to be tough. And I think the leadership walked a lot of these members off the plank on this. I think they put them in a really untenable situation, threatening them they had to vote yes on it. And you're going to see reverberations. Now, I think if we're able to get strong policy, then I think people will be, okay, you guys had to work things out or whatever. But standing as it is now, I think so. I want to give them time. I want to give you time as Floridians to be able to talk to your folks and let them know what you think and make them justify their vote. Because I think it's a really difficult vote to justify. Hey, the governor proposed really strong measures, and yet you voted for this. Why? And don't let them be mealy-mouthed. Make them tell you why it's better. And, has a better name, right? Than our stuff. I mean, no. It's what did they do? So I want you guys to be able to do it. But yes, we're gonna get this done one way or another. I'll use all the tools at my disposal. But I do look forward to the legislator returning to their communities And I think people should have these conversations with their representatives. I think it's offensive that some of the leadership has suggested that members calling their offices or expressing displeasure, that somehow that's bullying representatives. No, you work for the people. They have every right to tell you what they think. They have every right to hold you accountable for your actions. And if you're doing things that have betrayed their trust, they can sock it to you and let you know that that's what's going on. So this idea that you can do whatever the hell you want and that people have no voice in this, that is absurd. You have every right to be involved in these debates and tell your representatives what you, and what I found is the beauty of all this, when you get elected to things, if you just do what you told people you would do, it all works out very well. It even works out well with people that didn't vote for you, because they do respect. If you lay out what you're going to do and you do it, even if they disagree, they'll say, you know what? This guy means business. This guy's true to his word. Whereas what do we normally expect with these politicians? They tell you one thing and then they do another. So when you see that gap between what they promised you and what they're doing with their actions, you not only have a right to express your opinion, you have a duty as citizens to express your opinion.
Does this division change the way that you have to govern or do things moving forward? Does it make it harder to get stuff done?
This is not about, I think a lot of the media wants to make it about, oh, this is the legislature fighting the governor, all this stuff. What is best for Florida? What's the policy that's going to be best for Florida? I don't need pride of ownership. I am totally fine if members of the legislature are generating policy that's stronger. I don't think you can do it, but if you do, do it.